ways. He tends to do many different things, and he likes doing many things at one time. I am always teasing him and jokingly criticizing him. I'm like, only do one thing. If you only do one thing, you're gonna succeed more. And he's like, well, no, but I like this and it's working. And he's right, it is working for him. You have both started one company, or Milo was like your baby, or I imagine when you're running that was like your only focus. Now your focus is on launching 10 companies a year, although you hire people to help you make it happen, so I guess your baby's kind of atomic. But do you think that starting multiple companies is going to be a bigger wealth creator for you than if had you just done kind of one major thing and you only focus on one, let's say a software company or something like that?
It's an interesting question. So before I answer that, just one comment on that. I have noticed a pattern, which is that the smartest people I've met in the world fall into one of those two camps. They either want to be like singularly focused on one thing, almost to a fault, where they are so focused on it and they just absolutely have to crush it. And that's one archetype of success. And it works really well. And some people are super successful that are that way. There are other people, and I put myself more in the camp of like, I just get energy from working on a lot of things with a lot of different people. It's how my brain works. I have to work across a lot of different things. And that's also, part of it is what you enjoy and what makes you happy. And that's kind of what I enjoy and what makes me happy. It's inventing, it's the early stages, it's what could come next. So when I thought about doing Atomic, it actually wasn't, believe it or not, a wealth building exercise. It was really, one, is it possible to build a company that builds companies? Nobody's really figured out how to do that at scale before. Two, how could you do that? Three, is that the most interesting and impactful problem in the world to work on? I believe that it was at that time. And, would it be fun? And would I get to work with really great people on really great problems? And I thought the answer to those questions was yes. So I decided to do it. It can be very lucrative. I do think probably you can do better by just focusing on one. Like if you had one thing that was going to go to the moon, that you can probably do financially better just going all in on that thing, at least in the short term. I don't know in the long term, because in the long term, if you build a company that builds companies, what's the value of that? I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like asking a genie for unlimited wishes.
Right. So, but that's not really, what drove the decision making or kind of how I think about it.
Well, you said it's not been done before. I mean, maybe I don't know where they were at the time. Rocket Internet, for the listeners, there's this company called Rocket Internet based in Germany, started by these three crazy, crazy brothers, and
Yeah.
their whole shtick was basically copy Silicon Valley companies, but do it in Africa, Asia, and other places where that thing didn't exist. So Airbnb in Europe, or Amazon in Thailand, or whatever it is, Zappos in Nigeria, and they created a few companies that were fucking huge, and
Yeah.
they did it but their whole thing was copying, to the point of they would have this chief scientist who would basically study, let's say they're copying Pinterest. He would send out an email to the Pinterest of Africa and the Pinterest of Germany and be like, Pinterest changed their button size on the top right from this to this, do it. Have you ever thought, what do you think about those guys, and have you ever thought of doing that strategy where instead of invention, let's copy?
Yeah. So it's just not our style. It's a very different style. First of all, I think the kind of talent you can work with that you can motivate to just copy other people's ideas, I think is very different than the kinds of people we're able to attract at Atomic and work on our companies. It's more of a mercenary, probably than a mission driven approach. We pride ourselves in everything that we've done has been innovative. It's been original. We haven't been copying other people's ideas. It's not in our ethos to do that. So, and the processes and how it operates is very different, and the culture is very different fundamentally as a result. So I do think you need to pick one of those two things. Would it be easier to build something that just copies other people's ideas? Yeah, it would be easier, but it probably wouldn't work as well, because I don't think just copying other people's ideas is as valuable. And I don't think that it would work as well anyway, but it's also just far less interesting to me. It seems like the ideas that worked well for them were the ones where there was like a local network effect in the US that hadn't gone to Europe yet, and they did it in Europe before the US company could go to Europe. But there were a lot of companies that they copied that they had a hard time because they kind of installed someone who,
Yeah, they're just
you know,
hired guns. They would just hire
right,
bankers and say, just spend more money than this other company.
exactly. Yeah.
And missionaries often outlast mercenaries, and you have to longevity is one of the key factors you need to win.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk
It
about.
worked to some extent, but it's just different.
Let's do a couple minutes real quick